covered then. Today it's practically all gone. The 70s are just absolutely flat. And another thing noticed a lot was the DH Day tugboat. That always fascinated me. The biggest boat on the lake, 52 feet long and 12 feet wide. It was always hauling logs to the mill. And the DH Day land had land all around. And every access to the lake shore and the Glen Lake Basin, you could have logs there somewhere easily. And the remember the old bridge there, that was the iron bridge, and all the planks on it. The planks very loose, and a car go over there made a loud fire. Even at night, you can hear a car going over the bridge, not at our place. And I think the thing that we had to be careful about was driving, even on M22, we had to stick right on the ruts. Standard equipment was a couple of gunny bags and a shovel. So if you got off those ruts, well, you had to start digging, put a gunny section there and try to get back on. Usually if you met a horse-drawn vehicle in the opposite direction, their duty to get off entirely, let you go by. But if you did get stuck, because of them, they all took their team and pulled you out again. So,
But normally the horse gave way to the automobile?
yeah, well, no, I mean, if you met by the horse would carry the wagon clear off the road on his side, so you'd have the whole road yourself. And it's very impolite to force you with the team of horses off in your car on that side. And the thing that I insisted on most is seeing the Sleeping Bear. And so I finally got the family to go over to the dune in 1914, and as I mentioned, it's just solid trees in. But
this is the bear itself, so to speak,
yeah,
the mountain
it
on
looks
top.
like a bear with a head to the north. And of course, on Lake Michigan, that was a prominent navigation mark for years. It showed up very strong then. Now you just solid sand. The one name you heard more than anything else around there was D.H. Day. He owned all the land, had the mill, he owned the boat agency. I think it was all established at Glen Haven when he bought it. And that's had the 4 boats in the Manitou, Missouri, Curtin, and Illinois. And I think the only time that they weren't operating was during the World War I, when Wilson signed a declaration of war in April of 14. It was 14, but then the government took all of, I think 2 of the boats anyway, Manitou and the Curtin, and didn't do a thing with them all that time. So they lost 2 good years of tourist traffic. I remember visiting Day with my father over in the store there, and he mentioned how he was a railroad official and mentioned how bad shape the railroads were after government control. And they said, well, I said the same thing with our boats. And he never got over losing all that traffic. I mean, it's probably the latter part of 1919 before we got boats going again. Then from 19 on, especially in the 20s, why that was when the boat company, they call it Michigan Transit Company, Northern Michigan Transportation, 3 or 4 names, they kept changing it. That's when the traffic was heaviest. And I remember coming up from Chicago, either on the Manitou, Missouri, it'd be crowded. You'd have to get your reservation in a long time before then. And the traffic, the baggage, freight, it'd take 20 men with hand carts to unload it in one stop. And I think for old time's sake, I took the last ride on the Manitou from Chicago to Mackinac and back. I really enjoyed the Manitou more than any other boat. And that was in about 23 or 4. I don't think there were over a dozen passengers on the boat. No freight at all. and I couldn't say I could keep on much longer. I really enjoyed the big triple expansion engine down in the lower part of the boat there. I spent so much time there, the engineers knew me and let me go anywhere I wanted. And I guess the company is just about going broke, and the Manitou was sold several times, and they couldn't do anything with it, whoever bought it. And it finally ended up in the harbor at Manistee, and then it's parked right there, moored right there, not far from the highway where you drive Chicago and back. And notice there's a boatkeeper there sitting outside the boat all the time, so just one door on the boat was open to the gangplank there, and I was going down Chicago one time. I thought, I should stop there and see if I could see that engine again. He said, oh no, the insurance company won't allow anybody on the boat. You couldn't see an engine any way. It's all dark down there. It's pitch dark. And I think it was 33 or 4. It couldn't be more than a year after that, but I saw a big headline in the Record Eagle. The steamship Manitou burned out in Manistee, right in Manistee Harbor. And evidently the fire started at night, and it pretty well cleaned the inside of the boat out before they could get the Manistee Fire Department there to get control of it. But after it was all over, the investigators investigated the cause of the fire, and they figured out that this fellow must have had a kerosene heater in the stateroom where he was sleeping, this portable kerosene heater. It must have been a gasoline explosion because he was lying on the bed just as he was when he was sleeping, with just everything completely burned off, just a corpse. All burnt. No fabric on the mattress, just a coil of black oil and everything. So they figured it must have been some kind of explosion. But the boat was beyond repair, so it was sold to some outfit over in Wisconsin. And I guess the company over there had specialized in taking little boats and building them over and everything, and they cleaned out everything in the boat, all machinery and everything else, and just left the hull there, just a shell, and want to make for hauling, a barge for hauling the pulpwood. But I guess they didn't sell or find a buyer, but soon after that it was cut up for scrap, so it was kind of a sad ending for one of the most beautiful boats I thought on the lake. Now, as I recall, the biggest shock we had was the second year we came up there. We arrived at the cars there, and they had evidently unloaded all this winter cutting in the house lot next door. And there was a pile of logs there, 3 or 4 high, 3 or 4 logs high, and all the way from the highway to the lake. And just a huge, fine logs. You couldn't imagine whatever happened without snowing. So we had it right on top of us all summer, running the logs over out to the mill. And that was the property my parents later bought and built the present house that Cushells are in now, you know. And of course, it was only natural for me to get acquainted with all the crew there. They'd arrive early in the morning on the tugboat, and the crew there, and they'd have to build up the raft during the day. But they couldn't get the boat more than 300 feet closer to the shore than that, because it drew about 4 feet of water. The water's very shallow there, but it didn't make a difference anyway, because by the time they completed the raft, it was about 200 feet long anyway. So they rolled each log down to the shore off the bank there, and then drive a big wedge into it with a ring on it. I don't know what they'd call that. They did each log right in the middle, and then they run a rope through the whole thing. So it'd be 200 feet long anyway, and tie it to the tug, haul it to the mill. That was take about an hour and a half from our place there. I don't know how long it takes from the east shore of Big Glen. It couldn't go over a mile an hour with all that load. It was only natural for me to get acquainted with the captain of the crew there and insist on riding on the tug, so they got permission from parents to do it. So I rode it several times. And there's another engine I enjoyed seeing, but as they approached the mill, they always blew the whistle on the tug to get all the crew out of the mill there to help get the logs under the little bridge there from Glen Lake into the mill pond. The road on the west end of Little Glen, just nothing, right on the shore. Almost driving to the lake if you weren't careful. And there's the bridge there where the logs go under is hardly just big enough to get the logs under. And then as they're all pulled under, why the fellows in the mill pond there pull out all these rings, you know, the big lever. So the mill pond's pretty well full of logs by the time we got through. The logs were carried up along endless chain up the upper part of the mill there with the projection on to catch these logs that went up. And they went down way underwater. That relieved the men of doing any lifting at all. These huge logs are pretty heavy anyway. And then another purpose was to wash all the sand and dirt off the logs before any cutting. And of course, the only natural I should get acquainted with that little locomotive that they had there, and so I had arranged, made it right on that sometime to the mill, from the mill to the pier at Glen Haven. The track went right onto the pier. We had to go clear over toward the sand dune to avoid the big hill, you know, south of Glen Haven. It's quite a big climb. In those days, you couldn't hardly get over the sand road. The one thing on the mill there made everybody conscious of it was a huge whistle, a single tone. This is a big thing about it, so high. I remember seeing it after Dave Day had it all torn down. And you hear that all over, even in Traverse City sometimes it's said. Everybody knew what time it was, and I think it must have blown at 7 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock would be horrible. They started working those days. It must have been 7 anyway.
What about the lumber, Fred? What do they do with the lumber from the mill? Do they take it back to Glen Haven?
Did you hear me?
The lumber at the Glen Haven, at the mill at Glen Lake, that little pond and.
Well, it doesn't mean take it from here.
What did they do with the lumber when they
Well,
saw
take
it?
to the pier, then load on boats.
Glen Haven.
Oh,
The Glen Haven pier, yeah.
Glen Haven.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's what I wondered.
Yeah, the beach.
They all went to the Wilson Lumber Company, Thomas Wilson Lumber Company.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that went
All
to the,
hardwood, no,
The beach
no
Yeah,
softwood.
I see.
Glen Haven,
Yeah.
there,
No, not
the
that
Coast
much,
Guard
not
station was the lumber yard.
Oh,
They pile there in sun dried and then taken back down out on the dock.
where'd it go, Fred?
No, I should have said, the lumber from Empire went there.
Right, but not
The
from,
name was all softwood, and I don't know where, it was shipped out on boats, I don't know where it
but
went.
not to the Wills Company.
No, oh, that's all,
No, that's
all
what I
hardwood.
wondered, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So you're talking 1914 or so?
Yes,
When you started riding a boat as a pretty darn young fellow then? Just to go along as a nosy spectator then, right?
yeah, oh, yes. Yeah, well,
And you stayed at King's Resort?
yes, Kentwood. What-
Kentwood.
Kentwood, yeah. That was still about the 1st of July when Grandpa had the house closed in. And speaking of Wills, he came to Chicago soon after the Chicago fire. He was superintendent of a large woodworking place, and he bought all his hardwood from Wills.
Yeah.
And I guess he was one of Wilson's best customers. He knew all the three brothers, George and Harvey. I think it was Thomas Jr. was the other, three of them, yeah. He always called Ed Wills there, but he used his middle name Harvey up here for some reason. And so when he came up here, he knew all about Empire before he came in, because they told us much about their source of good hardwood from Empire here. He was built the company up with quite a reputation for doing, about big stairways in public buildings. Of course, there's so much new building going on after the fire, he was busy all the time. So he was in his 70s when he came up here.
Now, who was this?
My grandfather, maternal grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Gosh, that's a long time
And-
ago.
I guess all the lumber for the Wiesen house was from Chicago, and it had D.H. Day's name printed on the lumber. And the boat service was about the main source of bringing freight up here at that time. Going up the boat, the Glen Haven, and even the Missouri all stopped at both Glen Haven and Glen Arbor. The Manitoba never did that, went on up to Petoskey. But that was your main source of transportation for freight there. And of course
Or
you
you
had-
mean they took, Fred, they took the lumber from Empire down to Chicago, then brought it back up and built the house?
Oh, no, that was, well, he bought the lumber in Chicago before he came up. It could have been anywhere down there, but had no connection with the...
Oh, no connection with the Empire Mill,
Of course, that was
okay.
all hardwood there.
All right,
In
all right,
in his work in the plant, it's all hardwood, but the house up here was softwood.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And then, he used to buy some softwood from D.H. Day too, and it was really big. 2x4 is 5x6 or something.
Is that right?
Full measure. Well,
Are you
maybe
talking
3x5.
about the big house? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
The
the one
big
that
house?
Wilts is,
No,
the
the
one
big
that,
house of Dickinson.
Yeah.
right,
I see.
Wiesen.
Yeah.
Now, Wiesen's house was your parents' house?
Yeah, my aunt built that.
Oh, your aunt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we built ours in 23.
That's Cochelle's today?
Yeah, they have that, yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
23.
And the other way to get up here from Chicago was on by the train. And of course, Father being a railroad official, we had annual passes on the Paramount Cut. That was the one line for coming from Traverse City to Chicago. And it was eventually taken over by Chesapeake and Ohio, but they still call it the Paramount Cut even after it's taken over. That was a very pleasant overnight ride. You'd get on the train at what we call the Grand Central Station, long gone now, and that was on Harrison Street, which is east and west, and then the south branch of the Chicago River went north and south, and the station's about a block and a half from the river, and you just go down the river to 22nd Street, come to a little side street called Throop Street. That's THROOP. And 2209 is the official number of the Wills Lumber Companies. It was all right there together. And usually you get in the Pullman there in Chicago, and they leave fairly late, so you're asleep usually. You come up through Grand Rapids and White Cloud someplace, Interlochen, and get into Traverse early in the morning. Very good service. And in those days, the Paramount Cut Station was right on the south bank of the Boardman River, between Union Street, it'd be South Union Street and Cass Street, and don't want to confuse it with the North Union Street bridge, just by the old Kent Bank between it and the other building there. And it was you'd get up there at a comfortable hour, and first thing you notice how different the air smelled from Chicago. There was a good eating place there right next to the Union Street. Then going to Empire, you'd have to go to the North Union Street Bridge, get into the Manistee Northeastern Station there. And so you'd have the breakfast in the eating place there, and then get a short ride some way to over the North Bridge. And as you know, the Boardman River goes east and west over sort of 4 or 5 blocks there, and then I guess to Wadsworth and there, and then heads back again, so the two rivers parallel. So you can have two bridges over the Boardman. And the station for the Manistee and Northeast is right on this, right on the river's edge almost, and it's right across the river from the backside of Old Kent Bank. And so in order to go to Empire, you'd have to get there by 8 o'clock in the morning after eating your breakfast in the eating place near the Manistee and Northeastern, the Père Marquette Depot. And now coming out of the Manistee and Northeastern station, it's quite a long train, and they had stops everywhere. And that was one of the hardest trips you ever took, was from that station to Empire. It would be roughly 25 miles of crow flies. I think at least 100 miles. And they head up north through Graileville, Hatches Crossing to Fouch, on the south end of Lake Leelanau. They have quite a few people get off there and go to Leelanau on a boat, and it's through Prouvemont. Lake Leelanau, the village is called Prouvemont, and so that off quite a few patches there. Then start south again, go through Solon and Leelanau County, and then enter Benzie. I think there's several stops there, Lake Ann, one or two others, before you get to Flat River Junction. At Flat River Junction, you had to get off the train there because that train continued on to Manistee. You took another train on Manistee, northeastern over to eastward to Honor, and then north from Honor to Empire Junction, and you get on the Empire Southeastern, the Wilkes line. So,
How long did it take to get
it was
from?
all day.
Oh, my
I
word.
think the most exasperating thing was stopping at Flat River Junction, 6 miles from Interlaken, where he went through early in the morning on sleeper. They took a complete circle trip. Then at Empire Junction, they'd usually have the train ready to go to Empire on one track, and then the train we're on and the other track have them together. And both trains had a baggage section with side doors, and they had both side doors opposite each other. Put a plank across, so they wouldn't have to get off the train at all, just walk the plank.
Oh.
My father got the biggest kick out of that, being a railroad official. Most efficient way to handle the passenger traffic.
Pretty handy.
Then from starting from Empire Junction, where of course you go through, was it Peter Stormer? He had the contract with Wilkes to cut all the cutting there. Named 2 stations after him, 2 stops. One was Stormy, the other was Peterville, I guess it was.
Peterville.
Yeah. Then you come up to a high top where you get all the water for the locomotive. It must have been a spring there.
Main top.
Main top, that, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Then there's East Empire, that can be more than 3 miles away. And you get into to the Empire Depot at the foot of Storm Hill. It's quite a station there. I mean, the roundhouse for the locomotive and everything. But you were really bushed after all that long day.
So when you came into Empire, do you recall if you went out on the dock and then back?
Yeah, I think they come in straight first, and then they'd have to back it up on the dock. They had to back again.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
came right into the depot
Yeah.
in general, okay.
But I think it must have been around 2 years. We used it quite often up till just the mill burned, what, 17?
17.
A couple of years after the mill burned down, 8, then they abandoned the train altogether. But I remember one time, around 1960, my mother taking my brother and me down to Chicago. Went down for any reason at all. You didn't see our frigate dinners or anything. And they got it, somebody drove us from Glen Lake to the depot here, and he knew right away something's wrong. The locomotive's still in the shed there, and no train made up for anything. So he drove around to the engineer's house in Empire there, I don't know, Front Street or what street north of there, and got him out of bed and told him, what's wrong here? And no train ready, and he said they had a breakdown in the locomotive. They're going to work on it today and have it ready to go tomorrow. Well, this fellow here drove us clear to Empire Junction. It was a rough 12 miles. Followed the wagon, the railroad along. We got there in time to catch the Manistee Northeastern train leaving for Honor, and that was really something. Well, those were the days.
Probably Will Gordon might have been the engineer?
I don't know, I wouldn't know the name.
Yeah, possible.
Yeah,
Fred, what was your maternal grandparents' last name?
Bray, B-R-A-Y. Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned coming out of Empire Junction, and then the first stop was Stormer. Do you recall at all the relationship between the two, how far down the track Stormer was as a
Well, I
stop?
wouldn't know, I think Peterville it was the first one, and then Stormer, that's all I know. And they'd, I think of course, by 1914, the lumber's pretty well gone. There are no big trees.
Well, Stormer should have been your first stop out of the junction, and then Peterville is up where Fowler Road is today.
Before the junction.
Oh, they are?
No, I mean after the first stop after the junction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first should have been Stormer.
Yeah, Stormer, and I guess then Peterville.
Yeah, but I've never known for sure how close Stormer was to Empire Junction. If it's literally at
It
the,
was very far.
and then it's a ways up to Peterville, which is
Yeah.
around Fowler Road.
I remember one time a male passenger sitting in front of us there got pretty disgusted. Of course, they didn't follow a schedule at all like the Manistee and Northeastern did. He stopped anywhere, visit with a friend. This guy got so disgusted, the car was right next to the locomotive, so he could yell out.
Do you recall,
And
Jack?
He gave the locomotive engineer a bawling out. Used a pretty foul language. He even made reference to the ancestry of the locomotive engineer.
Do you recall Jacktown as you come through it, Fred, at all?
I remember the name, but I don't remember where it was.
That would have been north of Peterville too, but there was a depot or at least a warehouse there, I understand, but I don't know.
Could be.
And some buildings, but
Surprisingly, the stations they had on the Manistee and Northeastern were all quite elaborate. And of course, Honor was quite a big setup there, with maintenance buildings and everything, but the other small stops all had still, like Empire Junction had a station there.
just a small depot building.
Yeah.
And a home behind the depot building, I
Used to work
understand.
on it.
Yeah.
But after that was going, I guess we had a car by then. We could drive over to Traverse City. But even that was quite an adventure by 1920.
But until the 20s, the best way to get here was by either boat or train then.
Yes, that's right.
Did you take the boat primarily before the years of using the train?
Well, both of them.
Either one?
Yeah.
And the boat was, again, you'd get on Friday evening and spend the night
Yeah,
on the
that
boat?
was a special, at least it carried in the summer, the Manitou. They'd leave, it's perfect to bring the husbands up here over the weekend. They'd leave Chicago, 5:30, and it was wonderful to get out of that hot, moist city and get on a boat. Half an hour you'd have to put a jacket on, just dripping wet with moisture when you got on. It's terrible there in the heat. And you get into Glen Haven first thing Saturday morning. All the families come down, pick up the husband. They repeat the whole process in reverse on Saturday, the Sunday evening. Get them all back in time for work Monday morning.
What was the name of the place? Bill Beam, when he was here, he took Bud and I out through that way. Like you said, they had the water up or something, they had to put water in the engine. What's the name of that place?
Main top. Main top.
Was that Main Top? It was down in a hollow, I know. And it was on the right-hand side as we were coming this way. That didn't sound like Main Top to me.
No.
No, it didn't sound like Main. Who said Main Top? It wasn't Main Top. You remember watering up there someplace, Fred? The train?
Well, you have to,
Had to take on
well, there
water.
were several places where there was a spring.
Yes.
I think the main top, as you call it.
Or Cooney Switch also. Cooney Switch is just after you got south of where the first watering spring was, as you're pulling the long hill from M72 south. You went along the base of what's currently the airport, right?
Yeah.
Then you swung left to head toward Main Top, and right away in there around the gearing place was Cooney Switch.
Yeah, but it didn't sound like me.
Well, what about the place by Skinner's? That's
Yeah,
down in the,
yes, it is
that's
down,
down in
yes.
the
Now
gully.
that would be where Stormer was, as far as that. That's right where 677 intersects with the
Empire-
railroad.
Was that Empire Junction for Skinner's?
Right.
Joe? Huh?
Right.
Empire Junction.
And then you come from Empire Junction to Stormer, then to Peterville, then to Jacktown, then to Pearl Lake
That's
cutoff.
down in-
And
This
then
was
Main,
Pearl Lake Branch.
right, Pearl Lake Branch. That was right at Jacktown, Freddie, if you recall where the
That
railroad where
was
they
added later, I guess.
Mhm.
They got some over there.
And then you come up to what would have been Main Top, which is south of the airport. And then just before you swung to come down that long hill toward M72 would have been Cooney Switch.
Oh, yes.
And then going down that long hill at an angle there is where they picked up water.
Yeah.
Then they came down to East Empire, which is where Marlin
Yeah.
Sandy was.
Well, after this guy blowed out the engineer didn't stop for anything.
He kept right on moving there.
Didn't stop for water rain.
Yeah, he just kept moving.
Fastest run, I guess.
So when did you folks then move up here? You met that good-looking redhead someplace around this country. Where was it?
Well, from 23 on, we had our place.
Your parents
And
had a
then
place.
I got my place in 38.
The what, you built that one?
Yeah, in 38, yes.
And your
Preston
folks,
home.
did your folks still own the one on the lake then
And no,
in 38?
I guess, yeah, Benet owned it till 63, then they sold it, or I sold it. It's an interesting thing, the mother had quite a bit of flower garden, and in 15 years after those logs were there, she's still digging up bark.
So all that log banking ground you're saying was right just west of,
Yeah, right, well, east of our,
east of your place?
Yes.
Oh, toward
where we
Clarence.
had our house. Then when all the logs are gone, the next stop to get all the bark, for, I guess, for tan, they call it tan bark. And they had this barge with a railroad track mounted right on the barge, enough for 2 flat cars. It had it so they could push the barge right up to the track on the beach there, and the locomotive pulled the flat cars right off the barge onto the land.
Onto the tracks on the land there.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that.
Place right together. But they spent a whole day picking up bark there, and that's the same barge that they'd use on the old settlers' picnic. They'd take the tugboat and tie the barge behind it, and I remember seeing that go from the mill to the bridge, and they were just packed. The edge of the barge, the people on the edge must have been holding on to somebody in back of them. The tugboats piled and the cabin and everything else, and they stopped at the bridge to take out some more and go into the old picnic, the old settlers' picnic.
Funny they didn't drown
Then
anybody.
reverse the process on the way home. I often thought what a wonderful thing it would have been to have all those trees standing, because even in 38, my place went back to the section line then before the government took our hood. And you can still find stumps 4 feet in diameter all through there. All those logs, they're all still in trees, but it'd be just like the hardwood pines over there. That was too bad to have to give all that up. Of course, it's like out in the west now, like the lumber comes first.
Yeah. Do you recall when Ralph Dorsey sank his boat? Was that?
Oh, yes, he got mad at it and sunk it. So
Now, were you up in this country at that
I
time?
heard about it, and before that was before we came, I don't know. It might have been before 1914.
Yeah, I'm not sure what year that was.
Why did he get angry with his boat?
Well, there's several stories on it, I
Yeah.
guess, right, Fred? Which one did you hear?
I guess he just, all I know is just sunk it there. What was it?
You hear from premonitions, he was supposed to take a group of girls on a cruise, maybe Joe's heard that too, I guess, but I didn't know if you had heard a story at that particular time about it. But he ended up taking it out in the deepest part of Big Glen and proceeded to chop a hole in the bottom of it and sink it. Now, that was a little steamer too, wasn't it?
Yes.
A little touring.
First, the Alice J. Day didn't last through as long as we know that. Of course, Day died in 28, and they had to replace it with a newer boat.
And what did they call that boat?
It had a long Indian name I can never
Okay.
remember. It was a little short, it was 48 by 13, little wire, but same engine. I remember they built it in Glen Haven and then ran it in on the track.
Oh, they built it right
Yeah,
there.
Glen Haven. The blacksmith shop there, it's real heavy, all 2x4s, planking and the ribs. And then they got in the water there where they keep the other boat, right near the entrance into the mill pond. I remember they took axes and chopped off the upper part of the old boat, and a huge derrick, and lifted the water and the engine right out and dropped it into the new boat. The new boat didn't have the cabin on yet.
I'll be darned. So that was out of the Alice J then? That engine went into the new boat?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and was had a cement floor there where the new engine went, just supported concrete right in the
Inside the boat?
Yeah. And I rode in that a good times too. Same old engine. That was really a museum piece by that time.
You're saying it was
the old boat cut up, they just hacked it all to pieces. I managed to get a couple of nails out of it, which I still have. Big square, old-fashioned nails. That must have been pretty old then when it was built.
So,
Remember Rob Brayer mentioned it was burned or something, no fire or anything, you just simply cut it up.
just destroyed it to update it for a new boat?
In order to get the engine and the boiler out.
And then they must have took it by rail down to Glen Lake, obviously.
No, it's already in Glen Lake. See, the two boats were together and they, right there in Glen Lake.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they built it at
Real
Glen
shallow
Lake.
there. So they set a big tripod or something right on the bottom of the lake.
Oh, I see. So they built it at Glen Lake, not at Glen
Yeah,
Haven?
that's right.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah. It eventually ended up on Lake Michigan shore when they, I guess, took the engine out. That's when Dave Jr.'s selling off everything. Remember he gave the locomotive to Finch Park, you know. I remember sitting with Dave, we were both Rotarians at the time, sitting together and talking all the times. And he was so disgusted with the way the cities take care of that locomotive, letting all the wood rot. I guess the city eventually sold some off it down in Ohio, I think.
That's what I heard.
Amusement park or something. Too bad. I think Louis Warner said one of his biggest mistakes was not buying it for only $500. It's been a showpiece.
Yeah,
It had there.
it's still been around today, possibly.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to the boat. I guess somebody bought it and made a fishing boat out of it.
How late did DH Day Mill operate? Late 30s? Do you recall that?
I think they, I mean, the mill?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but they, not much after Day died in 28.
Oh.
I think, of course, the lumber's all gone then. I don't know if they got some from the island or not. And it was just about the same time. I remember it was all the smell on the ground there.
Mm.
If I had gotten hold of Dave then, I would have offered to buy the whistle. It was like a big whistle.
Yeah, it makes you wonder where the whistle is today, doesn't it? It'd be quite a piece.
Yeah.
Well, by 28, had he started the golf course project yet or not?
The golf course?
Yeah.
I mean, where, on the,
DH Days.
so I don't mean on the big development?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. They had a water tower there. I don't think they might have had it. I think I don't know what happened. Nobody,
We were here when they did that.
yeah.
So was that a little later then? When did DH Day die?
Well,
Oh, in 28.
28.
No, I thought you meant the outfit that bought the days, the day forest.
Yeah, I thought Dave put that golf course
No, I don't
in.
think so.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh,
it was
really?
his land.
land that he,
Oh, so he was dead by that time, he didn't
Yeah.
get involved in that then? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. So that bus was not his bus then, that was the,
well, they did the Depression came along pretty well then, and the area could not support the 2 golf courses.
Yeah.
And the one over by the Old Settlers Picnic. Well, my brother used to be a caddy there. And I know it sort of divided up the people, and they both went broke. Was that Kepler's?
Near
Across
Kepler?
Kepler's, yeah.
That, they first developed was all plowed with lots and everything, and no one ever bought one. The hardest thing is get the first person to buy a lot, and then the others to come in. Nobody wants to be first.
And it never did go,
Yeah.
so it never did
Nothing
go.
sold at all.
No,
And the water tank, the great big water tank got torn down eventually. And, it was
A man by the name of Roscoe Black was from Carroll, and he was a surveyor that surveyed DHD forest up there.
Oh, yes.
For this golf course, and your grandpa, my dad worked there.
So
At that
that,
time, but I don't know what year that was.
it had to be in the 30s then, or right, Dorothy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just assumed DHD was involved in that. I didn't know, I guess I didn't tie that he had died in 29, so.
he died
In 28.
about the time he
28.
got here.
the Dave Jr., he kind of took over, I think. They disposed of the mill.
What was his last name?
No, Dave Jr.
Oh, Dave Jr., his son. Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
May I
Yes,
ask?
we talked a lot about old times with Rotary and.
Oh, yeah.
Old
Julia?
I just wondered if I could ask Fred a question about the bridge. Were there 3 bridges there? You talked about the one that the planks were loose, right?
Yeah.
The bridge?
Yeah.
Glen Lake Bridge.
This one bridge.
All right,
But
That wasn't until.
different times,
Yeah,
though.
it wasn't old, iron frame.
all right, but was it a flat one first? I read a book on Case, Louis Case from Benzonia. His dad took the mail. And the horses would not go across the bridge because it wobbled, you
Yeah,
know,
see,
so they had to walk them
the
across,
planks
you
went
know?
crosswise,
All right,
they're all loose, you know.
yes.
You
Now,
can
then,
drive over the car, a lot of
Then-
going and
then was there another bridge that kind of shaped a little bit like an egg on top?
Yeah.
I've heard that.
It would be the same, the same.
Was there a metal superstructure added to it, or was there a metal
No,
superstructure?
nothing like that, just.
So the pictures we
no,
see,
All the brickwork, the framework is above it's the corner posts. 4 corner posts full of concrete and they're just absolutely open and.
so the pictures Julia's talking about, where you see the metal superstructure, that's a little later vintage
No,
then?
they went right from one to the other.
Well, there's a postcard picture of one.
Yeah, we see, yeah, we see, we've got a picture, one was,
That's the only one, I remember they started going down, started doing.
and the new one being the current cement one was in the 30s or something?
Yes,
or-
I think, it must have been.
28, 29 was when that was built.
Well, I'll be
The,
darned.
it was closed off all summer, you had to go clear around the lake if you wanted to go anywhere.
First time I went across, it was loose,
Yeah,
and that was somewhere around 1920.
yeah. Well, I think we later than that, around almost 1930, the new concrete one.
No, I meant the rough lumber, and it was,
Well, that,
and it was rough lumber
Well,
on the
we'll have
edge.
to date the one with the metal superstructure.
Maybe that was before the one I.
That's
I
what
think
I'm
that was-
wondering.
That was
Very
before
first.
the metal one, because I don't remember the metal one, but I remember the rough.
Well, I'll bet the metal was the
Yeah.
first one, Julia, then. That might be.
Yeah, I could be
Who might
the,
have did it?
First
Dad. Who's that?
remember, reading history on getting the money for this, I don't know where I read it, for the president of the Iron Man.
In our some other day, there's some pretty good articles about
But
it.
it could be the one before that had something like that. I never saw that as long before.
Yeah. So then, when did you move to this country?
Well, in 38 permanently, but we've been coming up every summer since 14, you
Since
see.
14, you come up with your
And we
father?
had the other house since 23. And I got my place in 38.
And when you come up in 14, was it mostly with your parents or grandparents?
Well, everybody.
The whole family
Yeah,
came up?
everybody. Yeah.
How were you introduced, or how were they introduced to Old Kent, or the was Kentwood Resort, right?
Well, I think my aunt was up here. She's the one that built the cottage, and she was here in 1910. And
Oh,
she got acquainted with and she knew of the whole setting before she came up.
so this was a vacation
Yeah.
spot for you folks,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your family as early as 1910.
And she taught school in Des Plaines, Illinois, and there was a fellow faculty member named Burke. And his father had this Burke Hotel over on the north shore of Little Glen, the big old hotel.
Cold Springs?
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, it must have been Cold
Cold
Spring.
Springs?
And he was a former ship captain, had a little cupola built on top.
Oh, we've got
That's
some
the
good
way she
postcards.
heard about Glen Lake.
Wow, be
It
done.
all goes way back to that.
And Julia, where do you tie into this country?
Well, I think we better call it. It's quite snowy out, and it's quarter,
Yes,
it's
it
almost
is. It's
3, and why don't I come
Do-
next month?
Okay,
I think
how's that
that'd be
suit
a good
everybody
idea.
fine?
Yeah.
Good idea.
And
Well,
one
yes,
more question
couple
again.
more questions.
How did they get the logs from Little Glen to Big Glen and Big Glen to Little Glen? Was there no bridge there at all at that time?
There's
Well-
always a bridge there as far as,
Always?
always the iron
You
one.
could go under it.
But
Well, this
that's
is
in
what I wondered.
1949, there might have been something before that.
How did the Alice J get under that bridge?
The smokestack was pretty low, but
Oh.
under the present bridge, it wouldn't go under.
Oh, so
Of
it
course, you gotta
was,
realize they control the water level. If the water level if they're getting the logs at Big Glen, and he lowered the whole lake, so the boat get under it.
because that must have been a pretty close fit, didn't it?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Alice J would traverse between the lakes then, but of course, when it got down to the west end, only the logs went into the
Oh, yeah,
mill
of course,
pond.
of course, on Little Glen, I didn't have to worry.
They,
Yeah.
at the end of Division Street was where they used to dump a lot of the lumber.
In Bertieville,
Yeah, in Bradyville.
which one's division, by Al Palman's?
No,
Toward Crosby?
where I lived, there at that junction.
Toward
I mean,
Crosby's.
Yeah,
Lobby
no,
Crosby.
not to Crosby's, but more where we're going, Division is right there at the junction.
Oh, okay, straight
Right
down.
at the junction. And they would come down this Division Street and then turn south.
Mhm.
And they would dump all the lumber.
Well, that's about where the mill was there too, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right in there, McCarthy's.
the lumber
store
was where Fanning's, not Fanning's, you know, Flurlage,
Flairlich. Tom
where
Flairlich.
Flurlage.
Okay.
Because when we came, that mill was still there.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. And parts of it now is
It was.
right where the, across the road and behind where the La Bacassi is.
Any other questions of Fred?
I have one.
Yeah. Could you state your name?
I think you'll have to relay this to Daddy. I was wondering how he got when he got from the Manitou, how he got from the Manitou to Glen Lake.
How did you get?
Well, usually Vonley Dorsey took us up with his wagon, and then we had others with cars. That's up to about 1918, by the time we had our own cars, somebody up here. But usually Vonley Dorsey hauled all our stuff there. By
Oh,
wagon.
from Glen Haven around to the lake?
Yes. And
Good question.
Yeah, he hauled all the lumber from the Glen.
Now, Volney was Jim and John Dorsey's father,
Yeah, yeah.
which was son of John Dorsey, the original man. Volney was what it was.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting.
Sarah Johnson told me they used to get often her father, Jim Dunn, brought them around the lake.
So there were people hired to do that, or you just hired to transport you to your cottage?
And that was by horse,
Of
right?
course,
Yeah,
Oh, no.
horse and wagon.
Fred, was the Glen Lake Manor going at that time?
yes, I think the Bowman had, I believe.
Vitalman's probably around it. And also then would have been the one across the bridge on the left, Old Orchard Inn would have been going.
That was the Gregory, they're here a long time.
Gregory's, and then there was the Cold Springs, which is the one you mentioned on the North Shore.
Yeah, that
Railway.
burned down for a while ago.
So there were several big resorts going
Yeah.
already by
Yeah.
19.
Dunn's Farm, you know.
Dunn's Farm,
That
so.
were- that was mine.
And then there at the end, at the bottom of Birdville Hill too, there was a place.
Glen Eden's.
On this side,
On
Or
the other side of Birdville Hill, on
Atkinson's
the east side,
Resort?
right,
Atkinson's.
Atkins.
well, they called it Atkinson, before that was somebody else, I forgot.
Okay,
what.
but that was a resort, so there were several resorts already
Yeah.
then. You know, you don't think of that so much. In
There was a lot of resorts.
Yes. Glen Eden.
Glen Eden was going then?
Up in northwest corner of
Yeah.
Glen.
Now, that's several large resorts that early. You don't think of this as a resort area in 1910 or whatever. we're
Well, I
talking
think
about.
it always has been, you know, it's just gotten bigger and better.
Yeah?
My brother Fred owned some property on the north side of DH Day Resort, you know, the road there. And he was always finding something of things that was left over from that hotel.
Oh, yeah.
They said that was a kind of a wild hotel. I heard that.
Messing that up.
Yeah. With some fancy ladies.
Which was that one, Ockers?
No,
Oh,
on the north side of Little Glen.
oh, I see that one, yeah.
Any other particular questions? If not, it's certainly been an enlightening
Well,
hour.
thanks for coming,
Thank you,
Fred.
Fred.
Yes, appreciate it very much.
I wish the weather was a little
Right
better.
back.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Next month we'll work with you. That'll be fine.
Yep.
Good, okay. Our meeting will stand adjourned. Thanks again for the information,
Then we can
Fred.
hear from you next time.
That's the different outlook we like to hear from the tourists.
Yeah, he was telling me things about things that I had heard and I knew.